Hello everyone and welcome to today's Facebook live training. Today we have the amazing Milla Richardson from Pinkstorm Social, and she'll share her tips and tricks on how to make your mark on Instagram. So welcome Milla, thank you so much for being here, and without any further ado, I will hand over the virtual stage over to you.
Thank you so much, Lenka. Thank you so much for asking me to come on and present about Instagram. I'm just going to share my presentation with you now, and let's go straight into it. So welcome everybody. This is a quick run through on how to make your mark on Instagram. So if you put aside what you know about using Instagram to keep in touch with friends and family for now, and put your business hat on. So the reason that people follow businesses and brands on Instagram is for four main reasons: to be educated, inspired, motivated, and entertained. So when you're posting content as a business, you always want to think about these four elements in your head. Is your content educating, inspiring, motivating, or entertaining? And there's no doubt about it, as you know, that Instagram is saturated with businesses and brands trying to market a message, quite often a similar message. So to be more successful, it's integral that you really know your audience. Who are you marketing to on Instagram? Keep them in your mind when you're writing those captions. How do you want to be seen and heard? How do you differ from your competitors? What are your USPs? You need to be really clear on these so that your content and your profile stands out from the pack. Optimizing your bio. Obviously, the first thing that people land on when they see your Instagram page is your bio. So your bio includes your profile or headshot, whatever you choose to put in that little circle. Your description, you have 150 characters to make it as descriptive as possible, and your web link, if you've got a web link, and your stories highlights. That all encompasses your bio. So make sure your bio is really on point. Include your USPs and your keywords. If you've done any keyword research for your website, make sure those keywords are included in your bio. Include your location if you're location specific. Avoid using a hashtag unless it's a branded one. This is a really important point. If, for example, you're an interior designer and you include the hashtag interior design in your bio, somebody could click on that hashtag and essentially go to a bank of content, which is all from your competitors. You don't want to be driving your followers to competitors' content. So don't include a hashtag in your bio unless it's specific to you. So I could include the hashtag Pinkstorm Social, for example, but I wouldn't want to include the hashtag social media manager, okay? And always ensure that your bio is up to date and relevant. Make sure that you're searchable. So you've got two fields on your bio that are searchable. Your page name, your handle, which is at the very top with the @ symbol, that's searchable. And then your display name, so the name underneath your photo, that is also searchable. So ideally, you want to have those two fields slightly different. If you have them the same, then you're only going to appear in one search. If you have them different, then you'll appear in two searches. So ideally, your display name, the name underneath your logo, would be your tagline. But also make sure you include your name in it. You'll notice from the slide that I include Camilla because this is the field that comes up when you send someone a direct message on Instagram. So if I was going to send someone a direct message on Instagram, it would come up as social media coach Camilla. So if I didn't have Camilla in there, they potentially wouldn't know who the message was from. So make sure those fields are different and make sure you include some relevant personal aspect to yourself in your display name so that you are identifiable. Best practice when it comes to Instagram. So obviously you've got two people to please on Instagram. You've got the algorithm and you've got your followers. You want to be posting content that your followers want to engage with because then they're going to see more of your content. And you want to be pleasing the algorithm so that they continue to show your content to more than just your current following. So how do you please the algorithm? Well, you show up in the app every day if possible. And I don't mean posting, I mean opening up the app, possibly scrolling down your newsfeed, interacting with other people, maybe posting an Instagram story, but show up in the app every day if you can. Post to your grid a minimum of twice a week. And what I tend to advise is think about what you commit to and maintain, because actually consistency is much more important than frequency. You must be consistent. So if you can post twice a week, every week for the next 6 months, perfect, commit to posting twice a week. Don't post 5 times one week and nothing the next week. That will really mess up your algorithm. So think about what you commit to and maintain and stick to that. And then the less you post to your grid, the more you need to post to Instagram stories. So stories are really key these days. A lot of people just go on Instagram and they scroll through their stories. They don't even bother looking down your newsfeed. So you want to be posting stories regularly. Obviously, stories are arranged in chronological order. So every time you upload a story, your logo goes to the front of that queue. And as a business, you want people to be seeing your logo as much as possible. So the more stories you upload, the more they'll see your logo. I'm sure you know that the news feed is curated to you. It's not arranged in chronological order. So when you're scrolling down your news feed, Instagram shows you content that it thinks that you want to see, because ultimately it wants you to stay on the platform for as long as possible. So it thinks that if it shows you content that you're really interested in, you'll stay on for longer. So it tracks all of your activity on Instagram itself, on any apps you've got open, on Facebook, on Safari, Google. So if you've searched for a sofa for sale at the weekend, for example, you'll start seeing adverts of sofa for sale in your newsfeed. So as a business, this is why you need to be posting content that people are liking and commenting on, because then they will see more of your content in their newsfeed. If they don't interact with your content, then they're not going to see your content in the newsfeed. So Instagram are also constantly updating all of their features, their filters, their hashtags, their GIFs, their stickers, and they want you to be using these features. So where possible, make sure you use all of these features. And then how do you please your followers, the content that you post? So obviously Instagram is a visual platform. You want to be posting really good quality images to your grid. Always credit the source if you borrow someone else's images. Don't be afraid to borrow someone else's images if you haven't got any of your own. Just make sure that you credit the source. If you haven't got any good corporate photography that you want to use, go to a stock website. Unsplash is brilliant for downloading free stock photos to use on Instagram. And test single posts to be carousel posts. So obviously you can upload up to 10 photos in one Instagram post that people can swipe across. Now, naturally, if someone is swiping across those photos, they're going to spend more time on your post. And this may trigger to the algorithm that it's a good post and they may promote it further. So bring carousels into your strategy. You may also have noticed that if you're scrolling down your newsfeed and you land on a carousel of someone, if you don't interact with that post, when you log back in later, you may see that post again with the second image on the carousel as the first one. So definitely bring carousels into your strategies. When you come to thinking about writing your captions, it's all about testing what works better with your audience. Longer captions be shorter. What works better? What produces the best results? But bear in mind, there is a tendency these days to write longer mini blog type posts on Instagram. So don't be afraid to use up all of the character space and write long captions. People honestly do read them. It's really important not to go for the hard sell on Instagram. If you are heavily promoting your services or your products in a caption and being quite forceful about it, you're going to turn people off. It's much more important to build trust in your captions, build personality, make sure you're relatable, be honest, make sure that people can really engage with you in your captions. And also you obviously want people to be leaving comments. And sometimes they need to be told. So ask questions, ask their opinions, ask them to leave a comment. If you're going to ask a question, make sure it's in the first sentence or the last sentence. Don't put it in the middle, because people may forget by the time they get to the end that they want you to leave a comment. But really be direct if you want someone to leave a comment. When it comes to good content, I tend to tell people to think of your page as your shop front. If you were going to have a shop, what would you put in the window? This is what your grid should be about. Testimonials work brilliantly. Never be afraid to brag on Instagram. Hints and tips, you want to be helpful in your content as much as possible. What kind of tips can you give your followers that will keep them coming back to your page? Behind the scenes, remember that people are really nosy by nature, especially on social media. So the more behind the scenes content you can give, the better. It's obviously a fine line between showing off really personal life for business life, and you want to find that line that you're comfortable with, but try where you can and show your personality, what goes on in your office, your day-to-day life. People are really interested in that. Community involvement, obviously if you're involved in the community, show that, love that. And user-generated content. Remember that people buy from people much more than they buy from businesses. So if you've got people posting content around your business, make sure you repost that either to your grid or to your stories. That's why testimonials work so well, because people can see that other people are enjoying your service or your product, and they're much more likely to relate to that. And then don't forget that video is absolutely key across all social media, not just Instagram. But if you think about where you can upload video to Instagram, you can upload it to stories, you can upload it to IGTV, and you can upload it to the grid. So that alone shows you that video is so important to Instagram. They are promoting video over still photos. If you go onto your explore page, so if you click on the little magnifying glass on your control screen at the bottom, you'll land on the explore page, and you'll see that a video takes up 4 squares in the top right hand corner on that explore page, which just shows you that Instagram are promoting video heavily. Where possible, start building an IGTV library. IGTV videos are obviously designed for videos that are a minute and longer, so they're great for tutorials, hints and tips, success stories, studio shows, walkthroughs. If you're an interior designer and you've done a great product, have a little walkthrough, upload that as an IGTV. And another great thing about IGTV is you can include live links in the description field. So obviously, if you have less than 10,000 followers on Instagram, you only get one option for a link, which is in your bio. But actually, if you upload an IGTV, you can include 5 or 6 different links in that IGTV description. So that is where IGTV, I think, comes into its own. Showing your face is so important on Instagram. As I said, people are much more likely to buy from you or use your services if they feel like they know you. Photos with faces do tend to generate 40% more likes without. And I think Instagram is perfect for using it as a platform for people to really get to know you, especially in the times that we're in at the moment where we're not out and about networking. It's hard to have client meetings. Get yourself on camera, get yourself on your grid, show your face, give a feel for who you are, your values, you know, what makes you an expert. Really bring that across by showing your face on Instagram, and people are much more likely to use you as a service. The ultimate question, when should I post? So you obviously want to post when your audience is online, because you're going to get more likes and comments if people are there as you're posting. So use your insights and analytics to have a look when your followers are online. At the moment, I think it tends to be pretty much throughout the day. I think people are less on their phones in the evening. I know I'm not on my phone so much in the evening, but I am on it throughout the day. And I find the best times for posting myself at the moment, early in the morning. If I post by about 7:30, 7:45, I find that people consistently engage with my posts throughout the day. And I know that Instagram are still showing it to new people because new people are still seeing it. So try posting early in the morning, but also use your common sense. You know, if you are posting to working mums, for example, there's probably no point posting at 11 a.m. or 3 p.m. because those are generally times that they might be with the kids. Lunch times would work better if kids are maybe having some downtime, or if they're really small, having a sleep. Early morning, evenings, again, would work well. Use your common sense as well as your analytics. Instagram stories I touched on earlier, but they are so important to your strategy these days. You must be uploading stories. They are designed for kind of behind the scenes content, fun, creative content. While your grid might have a strong aesthetic, a strong layout, you may have a filter that you always use on your grid. Your stories are for much more relaxed content. You can literally post anything to your stories, anything that inspires you, your favorite coffee shop. You know, Instagram is all about being mentioned and mentioning other people. You're going to grow your account much more quickly if you give shout outs and they give you shout outs back. And Instagram stories are perfect for that. If you can tag a couple of local businesses on an Instagram story and they can then repost that to their 5,000 followers, then all of their followers are suddenly seeing your business name and they may click on it and start following you. So use your stories to give those business shout outs. Use your stories to show the personality behind your business, behind your brand, what inspires you. Just have fun with them. They're meant to be creative. Use all of the Instagram filters if you can, the stickers, the hashtags, location tags, just have fun with them. And then build on your grid page in your bio some story highlights. So think of them as an online portfolio for what you do and your business. People should be able to flick through your stories and get a really good idea for who you are. So I would also say, think about if you have a website, think about the page names on your website. You may have an About Us page, you may have a testimonials page, or you may have services, what your services are. Copy those page names into the titles for your story highlights and then start to build a lovely online portfolio. And where possible, design a front cover for your story highlights. You'll notice that if you don't have a branded front cover, it will take the first story in the reel as the front cover. But I think if you have a designed front cover to sit in your story highlights, it tends to make your page look a lot more professional. Use Canva, a great graphic design tool, to create a story front cover. You just need to have it saved in the photo library on your phone to be able to upload it. But yeah, Canva is brilliant. And if you go and have a look on Canva and try and open up to design an Instagram story, you'll see that it has, if you scroll down on the left-hand side through the templates, you'll see it has the front cover template there for you to use, so the dimensions are already set. So that's the posting side of Instagram. And then the engagement side is equally important. So Instagram want to see that you're building a community, that you are building relationships, that you're interacting with your followers. So engagement is absolutely key. If you can, spend 10 minutes a day scrolling down your newsfeed and engaging with other people's comments, other people's content, liking and commenting on that content. But bear in mind what I said earlier, that your newsfeed is curated to you. So the content that you comment and like on, you'll see more of that kind of content. So when you're using Instagram as a business, if you've got lots of friends and family following you and you're following them, it's not ideal just to comment on their posts, because then you'll only see their content in your newsfeed. You want to be commenting on accounts that you might like to collaborate with, that if you were in a normal networking environment, that you would hand your business card to. Anyone that inspires you. Think about those type of accounts and engage with them. Leave a comment, make it a nice, genuine comment, bring emojis into your comment, bring personalities into your comment, and start conversational threads underneath other people's posts. This is a really good way of getting your name out there as well. You know, if you start a comment under someone's post and they reply back to you, reply back to them. Start that thread and people will start to see your name. Especially now people can pin comments to the top of the thread. You know, if you get your comment pinned to the top of someone's post, people will see your business name when they go to comment, which is great to get your name out there. If anyone tags you in a post, make sure you repost it. If anyone comments on your post, make sure you comment back. So this is really important. If you have 5 comments on your post and you haven't replied back to any of them, the algorithm is not going to favour you for that. But if you comment back, then the algorithm sees that there are 10 comments on your post. They don't actually look at who's commenting, they just see the amounts of comments. So always like someone's comment and reply back to it, unless it's obviously a fake or a robot account, and then don't worry about it. Hashtags. So hashtags are absolutely key on Instagram, more so than any other social media platform. You can use 30 in a grid post and actually 11 in a story. I know I've got 10 on my presentation, but it's actually 11. So hashtags are basically a way of banking lots of content in one area about the same thing. And in order for your post to be seen and wider than just your current followings, you must be using hashtags. So if you're using 30 hashtags, you could appear in 30 search terms. So if you're only using 2 hashtags, you can only appear in 2 search terms. So you can see that it's much more beneficial to you to use the 30 hashtags. Keep them mixed up. Don't use the same hashtags on every post that you post. I tend to say, think about the content pillars that you post around. So you may post a testimonial, you may post something that inspires you, you may post a project that you've recently completed, or you may post about a product or a service that you are marketing. So that's 4 pillars of content that you are posting around. So you want to build 4 groups of hashtags that are relevant to your content pillars, so that you are regularly changing the hashtags that you use. Also, look at the density of the hashtag, the little number that appears underneath each one on Instagram. So when you go to the Explore page and you search for a hashtag, a little number will come up underneath that hashtag. And that refers to the amount of times that hashtag has been used on Instagram. Now, if you go for the ones that are being used 1 million, 2 million times, you are competing with too many other people, okay? So you want to use the hashtags that are being used about 500,000 times and less. Then you've got much more chances of appearing in search terms. So if you were going to use 30, I would say take 30 from the 500,000 mark, 30 from the 50,000 mark, and 30 from the 5,000 mark. Don't be afraid to use the really small niche hashtags. Sometimes they work really well for you. Have a look at the hashtags that your competitors are using, see if any of them work well for you. Also, when you put a hashtag into the Explore page on Instagram, Instagram Handler gives you a related list. It comes up with a related list of hashtags to the hashtag that you're searching for. Have a look through that list and see if any of those hashtags could be relevant to what you're posting around. You know, really use Instagram to search for the relevant hashtags for you. And also make sure you use your own hashtag in every post that you do, so that it's easy for people to find your content and any other content that people are posting around you. So I always use the hashtag PinkStormSocial in any post that I post. And if someone's posting around me or for me, I would ask them to use the hashtag PinkStormSocial, so that all of my content is banked in one area. And search for national hashtag days. Obviously, there are big hashtag days around International Women's Day or Mother's Day or Tea Day, Coffee Day. Use those hashtags in your strategy and use them in your calendar so that you know that you've got content that you can post around using your hashtags. And then it's really important, obviously, to track and do more of what works best using your analytics. You'll find your analytics if you go onto your grid page. There'll be a little insights button, or you can go to the burger line, the 3 lines in the top right of your grid page, and click on insights. Have a look at what content works best for you. You can change the metrics to see how many comments you've had on each post, how many likes. It always arranges it from top left to the best, down to top right at the bottom. You know, think about your objectives from social media. If you are trying to send people to your website, for example, then have a look at the web clicks metric. Keep an eye on that metric. See what content is driving people to your website and do more of what works best for you. I would keep a spreadsheet and have a look at the end of each month. Have a look at your analytics, track the comments, the likes, the engagement, the reach, the web clicks, and start to build up a pattern. I'm sure you'll find also, as I mentioned earlier, photos with your face or your team's faces get generally more comments and likes. So where you can, track and see if that actually works for you, and build up that monthly report so you can do more of what works. Ideally, you want to see an engagement rate of between 1% and 3% on your posts. So you would add up your comments and your likes and divide that by the amount of follows that you'd have to find out your engagement rate. And you want to make sure that your follower numbers are steadily rising. It's impossible to say how many they should be rising by, because obviously you get lots of people following and unfollowing you, you get lots of fake accounts, but you want to see an increase of genuine followers week on week. And also in your insights, have a look at your stories content and seeing what works best on stories and do more of that kind of content. A few tools to help on your Instagram journey. Obviously, scheduling is key. If you work out that your audience is online, mainly at 9 p.m. in the evening, ideally you don't want to be posting live into Instagram at 9 p.m. So a scheduling tool that I love to use is called Later. There's a free version and a paid version. The free version works absolutely fine, but have a play around with Later. Images, as I mentioned earlier, Unsplash is a great stock photography website for images, corporate images that you want to use. You don't have to credit the source. If you want to take your stories to the next level, use a couple of stories app to design really funky, eye-catching stories. Mojo, Canva, and Over actually is another one, O-V-E-R. They're great for that. And use Canva to create content for your grid. I'm sure you're using Canva already, but it's brilliant. And then if you think about how you really build an account on Instagram, how you really gain traction, you want to be, as I said, mentioning and being mentioned as much as possible. You want to be consistent in your posting and your schedule. You want to be asking people to shout out. If you can approach a few influencers, to use influencers, they are obviously great for building an account on Instagram. Competitions, again, if you sell a product and you can buddy up with 2 or 3 similar businesses, run a competition for 4 or 5 days. A standard like, comment and tag competition works really well, and have fun with it. I think that's the main thing about Instagram that I would say. If it becomes a chore, then it doesn't become fun. Instagram is meant to be fun. It's meant to be a good business lead generator for you. You don't want to be logging on and thinking, oh God, I hate this world so much. So have fun with Instagram. Keep it lighthearted, keep it fun, and just hopefully you will have success from it. Thank you.
Wow, simply wow. I needed to take a break and really take a deep breath, because this was fantastic. 24 minutes of pure value and amazing insights. Thank you so much.
Get as much across as I could in a short space of time. I didn't want to go on for long.
Yeah, no, this was fantastic. I think people appreciate how much you managed to kind of squeeze in and give us an overview of Instagram as a platform, its different aspects of your grid and stories and IGTV, and how it all works together. So that is fantastic. We have a couple of questions. So if you have a moment, let's look at those.
Yeah.
Ryan is asking that in his previous job, they noticed that the reach is low on IGTV posts. Is it something that kind of happens early when you start using IGTV, that your views are low, or is it something that you can do to boost your IGTV video results?
So obviously you want to be using hashtags as well on IGTV. Don't forget your hashtags. But really with IGTV, it comes down to the content. You know, it's all about the content in the video. If you are doing an IGTV and it's really helpful for people, the presenter's good, it's eye-catching, engaging, people are going to like it. But because, you know, there are so many people doing IGTV well, you know, it is a standalone app on its own. It's basically the YouTube of Instagram. So your content does need to be really good on IGTV for it to do well. That's something I would say. You know, if you've got more relaxed video content, stories would be the place for it. But yeah, really your IGTV needs to be on point for it to do well.
And would things like promoting your IGTV on stories and in a grid,
Absolutely.
and obviously now IGTV has a automatic preview and thumbnail and stuff like that. Do these small things actually make an impact?
And actually with IGTV, a great feature you can get in your stories when you have less than 10,000 followers is that swipe up. So if you can post an IGTV and then do a swipe up in your stories to it, then that obviously directs more traffic to it. And yeah, always post a preview of your IGTV on your grid and in your newsfeed.
Awesome. We have quite a few questions about hashtags. One was, where do you add hashtags on stories? How? And how you can do an efficient copy of hashtag from others. So I guess a little bit of a hashtag research. Just for everyone, we will have a hashtag specific session in August, Instagram hashtag specific. So you can start now and practice and obviously take all that you have from Milla. And in August, we will take it to the next level with a specific Instagram hashtag talk. But
do you want to show hashtags and stories, or do you want to wait for that in August?
No. If you can give us some quick tips on where to add stories and little hashtags in stories, that would be fantastic.
I'm just going to share my phone screen. Can you see my phone screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So hashtags and stories you can upload in two ways. You can either upload them using the hashtag sticker. So I would go here to the square face and I would choose the hashtag sticker here. But the only thing about using the hashtag sticker is you can only use one hashtag if you use the sticker. If I wanted to add another hashtag using that sticker, it changes the one I've already done. So you can use one using that sticker. The way to add more is to go to your text function and to write them, okay? So I can write as many as I like, oops, as long as I use the hashtag symbol at the front. Now, the great thing about using lots of hashtags on stories is you can hide them. So if I just write 3 hashtags, okay, and then I can also use my finger to move them around the screen. Now, if I wanted to hide those, what I would do is change the color of them to the same color as the background color. So I'm going to click on my hashtags, and then I'm going to click here to the color picker tool, and then I'm going to choose the background color up here, and I'm going to click done. And you can see that those 3 hashtags I've used are hidden. They still have exactly the same functionality, but you just can't see them. So that's a great way of using more than 2 or 3 hashtags in your stories and not kind of showing your viewers that you're cluttering your story up with hashtags. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I'll keep my phone screen there in case we need anything else.
Someone has asked, ironically now, if there is an app or something that you could recommend for people if they don't want to use their phone and they would like to use more of their desktop to manage their Instagram.
To manage their Instagram, so not hashtags, just to manage their Instagram on their phone. So yes, Later is a great one. You can manage your Instagram through Later. There's obviously a desktop and an app version, or Planoly. I love Planoly as well.
Awesome. Yeah. I think there is a limited amount of what you can do from Instagram natively on desktop. Is there something?
The desktops, it's really annoying, I don't know why, but the desktop, you can't post from the desktop to Instagram. You can obviously engage, so you can comment and like on other people's posts. You can view stories, but you can't actually post a story yourself, and you can't post from the desktop. You can only do it from the app. So yeah, Instagram is all on the phone, unfortunately.
Yeah, they having it as their unique selling point for Instagram. That's a mobile app. So unless you're using a third-party app, as Milla mentioned, Letter, Planoly, there's lots of Instagram-specific apps, or your general social media scheduling tool like Content, Hal, Buffer, Hootsuite, then Instagram
Or
will force
the
you to use.
Creative Studio on Facebook as well. You can do it from Facebook as well.
Yes, that's true. If you can link your Facebook, your LinkedIn, LinkedIn, what I'm talking, your Instagram to Facebook, and you can kind of manage to a certain extent to schedule and plan and do stuff from Facebook. But again, that's kind of little more complicated, I think, than if you do it natively on your phone or if you use a specific app for that.
Definitely.
We had an interesting question about how do we find and work with influencers? You mentioned engagement, finding collaboration. So any tips on that?
So I would always say go for the smaller influencers over the big ones. I think quite often you'll find that if someone has, say, 10 to 15,000 followers, they've got a much more of an engaged following than ones who've got hundreds of thousands. And also they're much more approachable. So if you find an influencer, and by finding, I would say you're just literally doing your research on Instagram. So you're searching for kind of like-minded souls or bloggers, or if you're an interior designer, you could search for the hashtag interior design influencer on Instagram and have a look who comes up in those search terms. See if they are like-minded, as I would say. Have a look at their content and see if people are engaging with it. See if people are liking and commenting on their posts. That's really key if you're going to enter into any kind of agreement with them. They have any good engagement rate. And then the first thing I would do is start liking and commenting on their posts. You know, start a bit of interaction. Maybe after you've commented on 5 of their posts, drop them a direct message saying, I love what you do. I'd love to discuss working with you. Do you take on any collaborations? And then just get into a conversation with them. Like, they are actual people. I know it seems like they're not, but they are, and they appreciate that one-to-one contact. So just get into a conversation with them and see what they say. They may come back to you and say, actually, I charge this much for a post, this much for a story. And you have to decide whether you want to allocate any budget to influencers or whether you want to try and find ones who would do it for you for free. Obviously, if you sell a product and you send a freebie, they're probably likely to post about it if you ask them to. But if you have a service-led business, it's slightly more difficult. But just bear in mind that they are all approachable. They're all actual people. Do a bit of research on Instagram itself and just send them a direct message.
Awesome. We had a question from Kelly, and she's asking, when you are starting a brand new community and building your account from scratch, would you recommend to start Instagram lives with top influencers related to your theme as a way to increase your follower numbers and engagement? Or do you have any other tips for people who are just starting out?
So I would say, just starting out, definitely get some posts on your grid first. Make sure there's some content there for people to see. Make sure your bio is actually spot on. If you do any other marketing, so if you have, say, an email database or you have a website, obviously promote your Instagram page throughout. Drop an email to everyone and say, I've started on Instagram, I'd love you to follow me. Use your warm audience first to get that Instagram audience going. And then stories are going to be absolutely key to you. Make sure that you're constantly, regularly posting in stories. And yes, showing your face is definitely a really good way to build your account. There's no doubt about it. Going live on Instagram shows your face more than anything else. And if you can find someone to go live with, so that you're just having a conversation between 2 people and it's quite informal and relaxed, you might find that a bit easier. But yes, going live is a great way to build your account on Instagram. But again, it's getting other people to mention you. You know, if you've got some key accounts, some friends or some contacts who have big accounts on Instagram, ask them to do a post about you. You could write a guest post for them. You could write, you know, just like you would write a guest blog online, you could write a post for them and ask them to post that to their grid, tagging you. It's all about people mentioning you so that people click on your profile and they start following you. That's really the best way. And if you can run a competition, competitions are brilliant for obviously building your followers. I wouldn't say they're brilliant for building really engaged following, because you'll get lots of people following you because you're offering a freebie, but they are great for that initial traffic, especially if you can buddy up with 2 or 3 like-minded brands who have big following of their own, and then they would post it on their grid as well, and it would be a like and tag competition. So for someone to enter, they'd have to like the post, they'd have to follow you, and they'd have to comment and tag a friend. That's a great way of building an account.
Thank you. I'm just going through the comments and they're wonderful. I've taken so many notes. Thank you, Milla. Fantastic. I want to jump in and use it. Thank you. So much amazing information. Thank you. So that's fantastic. I've seen one more question. If you have any further questions, do drop them in the comments. I will get back to them as soon as I can. We have a question from Ryan who's asking that depending on the campaign objective, do you have any suggestions on how to get stakeholders or the key opinion leaders on board with a campaign or just embracing Instagram more?
That's a really good question. It obviously depends on how social savvy they are already. I think there is definitely a generation, and I know my mum's the same. She doesn't really understand Instagram, so she doesn't really know that it works really well, all the benefits. So I think if you can show that your audience is there, that your custom or your audience, your target audience, they're there on Instagram, you've possibly got some competitors or some businesses who do the same kind of things as you and they're doing well on Instagram, then showing key stakeholders that other people are doing it well and that you could replicate that is a really good way of trying to build their trust for the platform and trying to get their buy-in. I think people the more educated they are on social media, the more they see the benefits. So if you can put a presentation together and really try and educate them and build their confidence in it, then I think that will only work well for you in the long term. I think the less people know about it, the more inclined they are to say, that's not going to work for me, I don't want to do it. So I would try and build their confidence. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, Ryan just commented because they always ask about return on investment for stakeholders. So they're wary to trying anything new.
Well, actually, I think that's where social media comes into its own, because actually you can show them, I mean, you can't obviously show them direct return on investment, but you can show stats. So you can really build those monthly reports. You can show how many people are going to the website from it. You can show how many people are liking. You can show direct messages. You know, you can show if anyone's commenting. You really can show that people are engaged with you on Instagram. That's a really good point. You know, there are lots of other marketing channels, you know, advertise, for example, print, online. You've got no idea whether that's actually directing traffic to your website or not. But with social media, you really can. If driving web traffic is an objective, make sure you've got those Google Analytics set up so you can see from each end where the web traffic's coming from. And yeah, just show the stats. Stats are powerful. Statistics are really powerful.
And on the term, we actually have a specific section talk about social media analytics at the end of this month, where we look about what are social media analytics, where do you find them, how do you interpret them, how do you make those links between individual platform and individual metrics, and how do you turn it into stories to actually tell often your clients, your stakeholders, what these numbers mean, what it is that you've actually achieved, and how these numbers are helping your overall marketing strategy and how they're helping your business.
That'd be so
that's fantastic. We had a question from Paul who's asking Instagram or YouTube for new traffic.
Oh God, that's really difficult. I have to say I am not a YouTube expert by any means, but I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that one. Obviously Instagram, I mean, there's no reason why you can't post the same content on both and see which works better for you. But yeah, I'm afraid I'm not really clued up on YouTube, so I wouldn't be able to answer that fairly.
I think it really much depends on what you're trying to achieve, because they will both attract different audiences and they have different functionalities and abilities. YouTube is great for content consumption because YouTube is a search engine in its own and people will go there to learn and consume. Of course, you can embed your YouTube videos to your website, so you can have it part of your SEO strategy and you can drive traffic there. But at the same time, YouTube is not made for engagement. So even though you will see some comments and stuff like that, it's not for building a community. So if your goal is actually build a community, build the engagement and really nourish relationships with your followers, then Instagram is the place, because it gives you so many options for driving engagement with Instagram story stickers and group chats and comments and DMs and all those things that enable you to really effectively build a community. So I think thinking about the end goal and why are you thinking this way or that way, and thinking about what you're trying to achieve is the, for me, would be the recommendation to go.
Amazing answer, Lincoln.
One question, I think it's related to influencer marketing. If you're looking for a very professional level of engagement, for example, with book agents, yet they also need to see a high level of engaged followers, how can you do both effectively?
It comes down to your content, really. It's really all about your content. If you're producing content, really great content, you're going to get the engagement from it. So you want to think about your engagement strategy really cleverly. But also I would say Twitter is key for you. You know, if you are trying to get in touch with book agents, you know, running a Twitter account alongside an Instagram account would be really, really good for you, because actually these book agents are so present on Twitter. So I would think about, you know, just think about which platform is right. Again, coming back to your objective, are the book agents really active on Instagram? If not, maybe think about Twitter.
I think that's it. Thank you so much. I will quickly scroll through the comments again if I haven't missed a question.
Sorry, can I just another really good way to make sure that you're directing traffic to your Instagram is make sure that you've got a little clickable icon on your email signature so that people can go straight from your email signature to your Instagram page, and the same on your website. Make sure you've got your social media icons on your website so that people can click straight through. Make it really easy for people to find you on both platforms.
Yes. So thank you so much. This was fantastic. I will force you to talk for a little longer before I give you a break. Could you tell us where we can find you if people want to learn more about you and what you do, and obviously how you can help them, and any resources? Could you let us know where to go?
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you. I would love anyone, if they want to follow me on Instagram. I'm at pinkstormsocial. Also, if anyone is interested in booking a one-to-one, or they just want to have a call about how Instagram can work for them, then go via my website or drop me an email. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm there as Pinkstorm Social, and hopefully my page is full of lots of helpful hints and tips.